who has more pressure in the SEC now that Kirby has won a title, Jimbo Fisher or Brian Kelly?
Well, I always kind of bristle at the thought of a first-year head coach having a lot of pressure. Brian Kelly, obviously, the way he's come into LSU and the big splash that LSU decided to make in hiring him. But I do agree that it's Jimbo Fisher, and only because if you look back at the beginning of this season, it was Jimbo Fisher and Texas A&M that so many people thought were going to challenge Alabama. And they challenged Alabama. Not only did they challenge Alabama, they beat Alabama in the regular season. They've got arguably, I believe, has come in as the #1 recruiting class. It depends on how everything shapes out. But they're stacked with 5-star recruits. They've got momentum. They beat Alabama this year. He was the first assistant of Coach Saban to beat his former head coach. So the pressure is definitely on Texas A&M to bring a championship back home.
Yeah, Benjamin. So, you watched that Georgia game last night. Obviously, I had a chance to see you on the MegaCast, which was pretty cool. What was the biggest difference last night in that Georgia win versus the loss in the SEC championship game to Alabama?
Great question. Well, it was Dan Lanning, and it was the defense. Now, back in the SEC championship, Georgia, which had sacks all season, they had pretty much run through every single team that they played defensively, got pressure on the quarterback in every situation. They had 0 sacks in that game in Atlanta in SEC championship. Bryce Young was able to make plays with his legs, plays with his arms. Georgia had busted coverages. The first big touchdown to Jamison Williams back in the SEC championship was on a blown coverage. There were other blown coverages. But last night, Dan Lanning and the Georgia Bulldog defense did the things they needed to do. They were assignment sound. They got pressure on Bryce Young. And not only was it just pressure from up front, but they varied how they got the pressure on Bryce Young. It's important to understand that getting pressure is not simply about one-on-one matchups. Well, that's part of it, but they brought linebackers from depth. They brought safeties. They came from the outside, the inside. And when they were able to get to Bryce Young, they surrounded him and got the sacks that they were missing in the last game.
Super Bowl champion, former Georgia Bulldog, Benjamin Watson, joining us here on Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max. Benjamin, we were talking about where Kirby Smart ranks amongst all college football coaches right now. If Nick Saban's #1, where do you have Kirby Smart?
Well, I'm glad we go and put it out there that Nick Saban is still #1. He's still #1 until somebody gets anywhere close to what he's done. So he's still by and far there. I think that for Kirby Smart, he's ascending. And, if I'm looking for a head coach to start a program, which Georgia has that head coach, he's not going anywhere anytime soon, especially after what happened last night. He's #2. He's young. He's got youth. He's energetic. He's a great recruiter. You see him flying around the state of Georgia. You see him doing whatever it takes to get those recruits. But the players believe in him. Look, it was difficult for Georgia to go and lose that SEC championship and listen to what everyone had to say. But every man on that team, including the coaches, everything you heard from them said, this is an opportunity for us to focus. We're either going to be defeated or we're going to be determined. It proved last night that they were determined and they overcame what was largely, I believe, quite a bit of a mental hurdle in playing Alabama, a team who Kirby was 0-4 against in his career until last night.
How much does this win shift the balance in the big, bad SEC?
Well, I'm going to tell you, Keyshawn, I am not. I am excited. I'm ecstatic right now. I just called the kids. They're on their way to school. Talk trash to everybody you want to. It doesn't matter. We are champions. But I'm not one of those people to say all of a sudden it's all about Georgia, even though I love my school and I believe that Georgia obviously proved that they have the best football team. The power is still in Tuscaloosa. The proven pudding is still in Tuscaloosa. Now, there is a shift in confidence and there's a shift in performance, and it'll remain to be seen, Keyshawn, what that does with recruiting. Because as you know, every time you're on a national stage like what we saw last night and Georgia comes up with a victory in the way that they did, recruits are watching that. They're making decisions whether they're going to go to Georgia, whether they're going to go to Alabama, whether they're going to go to Texas A&M, whether they're going to go to LSU. Louisiana's a fertile ground with a new coach coming in. So there are all these decisions that these high schoolers at this point, 18-year-olds, and their parents are making. But there is a sense of competitiveness with Georgia now slaying the beast.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content,
subscribe to ESPN Plus.